Welcome, Guardians. This is the tale of Kabr, the Legionless, the Aegis, the enemy of Confluence. Kabr? Some described him as a harsh, unaffectionate titan. Others would state him as indomitable in both speech and action. The lesson of Kabr is a tale of pride and misfortune, ultimately one of the most effective lessons to be taught to any Guardian. Kabr and those who traveled with him attempted to breach the Vault of Glass, destroy whatever the Vex had locked away, and return to the city in glory. Fate was no ally of Kabr, as Kabr and his team would fall prey to the horrors only recently eliminated by the brave fire teams of Guardians. Kabr would face the Templar, its shields too powerful to pierce, forcing his team deeper into the Vault of Glass. In the labyrinth, Kabr and what remained of his team would find the Gorgons, and Kabr would be the last to fall, consumed not by defeat, but by assimilation. Kabr fought alone, but somehow they didn't kill him. In the aftermath, he became obsessed with the machines. He consumed their technology like fire, fashioning armor from their remnants. He was claimed by the Vault, and his armor and myth are all that remain. What remains of Kabr is the lesson he teaches us today. Kabr, the Legionless, may remind us of Osiris of the Praxic Order, an individual who bathed himself in the science and technology of our enemies. But these practices often have ill rewards, as Kabr was to realize this all too late. As the Vex he slew spoke to him even into death, he fashioned armor and weaponry from the machine corpses. But how was anyone to know that even in death, the Vex are still a force of nature, ever acting to consume and infect? The city vanguard warns Guardians who return with the spoils of the Vault of Glass. Some have reported the Vex corruption is not infectious, but still dangerous. An armor too uncanny, too comfortable, like wearing a second skin, one of machine and mesh. Cautious words tend not to stop the bravest of us to repurpose the meshwork of the strongest Vex opponents, even when the lessons are all around us. The hunters among us have interesting statements about their armor, forged from the dead heathen lords. There have been reports of hunters becoming infected mentally, as if the Vex armor, even though dead, still affects the brain with a myriad of psychedelics. Forged from the cores of heathen Vex, if you feel a sense of revelation, remove immediately and inject anti-entheogens. Forged from the ruin of heathen Vex armor, the sensory interface feels more natural than bare skin. Forged from the remnants of broken Vex, some of the component matter is older than the solar system. Skinned in the membranes of the heathen Vex, there is a very little risk they will become permanently attached to your body. This word, entheogen, it is a chemically induced altered state of consciousness, psychological or physiological, often used in religious or philosophical circles to help sway individuals into certain camps. In the case of the Vex, the entheogens act as a corrupting element, consuming both the body and the soul. For exactly what aims or how the process is maintained and even achieved is unknown, but it does greatly affect that of organics. These entheogens could explain how Kabr was ultimately corrupted, how he changed, how he was ultimately consumed and assimilated by the Vault of Glass and the Vex he fell prey to. Kabr's final words were found by Guardian explorers who went to seek out Kabr and those who fell with him. Kabr speaks to us, shows us his demise was ultimately a long-winded battle against the Vex, one in which he was ultimately doomed to lose. I have destroyed myself to do this. They have taken my ghost. They are in my blood and brain, but now there is hope. I have made a wound in the vault. I have pierced it and let in the light. Bathe in it and be cleansed. Look to it and understand. From my own light and from the thinking flesh of the Vex, I made a shield. The shield is your deliverance. It will break the unbreakable. It will change your fate. Bind yourself to the shield. Bind yourself to me. And if you abandon your purpose, let the vault consume you as it consumed me. Now it is done. If I speak again, I am not Kabr. Kabr states that they are in his blood and his brain, as the corrupting entheogens have coursed through his body, forcing Kabr into something yet undefined. But he was no longer a guardian. He became something less and something more. But make no mistake, Kabr is no longer amongst the living. Kabr's final act of defiance to the Vex corruption coursing through his body was to create the Shield of Aegis, a tool of undeniable power used to pierce the shields of the Templar and change the rules of fate. Without Kabr's actions, Guardians undoubtedly would have shared in his demise, falling down into a spiraling madness, becoming another trophy of Atheon times Conflux. Only a few primary sources of Kabr remain, mostly from the legendary hunter Pahanin. Pahanin carried the burden of respect for Kabr and considered him to be a good man. His words emulate the calming force Kabr embodied. Words from Pahanin on Kabr. His name was Kabr. He wasn't my friend, but I knew him and respected him as a guardian and a good man. He fought the Vex alone. This destroyed him. In the time before he vanquished, he said things that I think should be remembered. These are some of them. In the vault, time frays and a needle moves through it. The needle is the will of Atheon. I do not know the name of the shape that comes after the needle. No one can open the vault alone. I opened the vault. There was no one with me, but I was not alone. You will meet the Templar in a place that is before or after stars. The stars will move around you and mark you and sing to you. They will decide if you are real. I drank of them. It tasted like the sea. That is all I can remember. Kabr tells us that he was alone, but most scholars believe that this is a metaphor for a potential abrasiveness of those he was traveling with. Rumors abound that Praedyth, Osiris, and even Pahanin were amongst his traveling companions into the Vault of Glass. But at the current time, no sources can confirm those reports. No one has seen Osiris for some time, and no record of an individual named Praedyth can be found. Kabr was not alone in the figurative sense, but he may have been alone in friendship. He may have wished to separate himself from the weakness when pursuing the unknown, as emotions have been known to add clout to logic. Pahanin may yet live. He constructed a weapon of great destruction, dubbed super good advice by those who have carried it. The weapon was instrumental in our understanding of smart weaponry, and Pahanin has become a legend amongst the inventors of the city's ever-working foundries. But Pahanin, after witnessing the fall of Kabr, became eternally fearful of being alone, as Kabr was, alone in companionship of those some could call friend. The lesson of Kabr the Legionless can be interpreted in a multitude of ways, all offering substantial evidence and warrant. One lesson could be of our enemy's technology. We know very little about the lasting effects of wearing Vex armor. Hunters, titans, and warlocks alike report strange occurrences of visions, erratic heartbeat, and particularly maddening thoughts. These entheogens could be how Kabr ultimately succumbed. Obsessed with the Vex machinations, losing his mind and soul to their creations. However, the second lesson, and maybe the more important, is that of companionship. As a guardian, we face threats. Insurmountable mountains of enemies stand all around us, all but waiting for us to blemish. Kabr, in the end, was without others, those who would be his foundation, supporting his endeavors both physically and psychologically. The lesson Kabr could teach us is ageless. Count upon those next to you. Exo, awoken, human. In battle and in life, these things should matter not. For ultimately, we stand at the precipice. The apex of humanity has long since passed us by, but Kabr knew. He knew that alone, a guardian could change the laws of fate, change what is meant to be, stand against the tide of time, and shield us from its aggressions. If alone Kabr could do this, become almost invincible, attaining undeniable power, bending the laws of universe, together, Guardians, we can break them.